Welcome, everyone, to Digital Liberation, Salvation, or Subordination. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating and often complex world of cryptocurrency. It's a topic that's constantly in the news, but what does it truly mean for our personal freedom and control in the digital age? Our central question today is, does cryptocurrency genuinely offer us digital liberation, or is it merely a new form of control, repackaging old systems under a new guise? We'll explore ideas like the illusion of decentralization and how the crypto market is choreographed. To guide us through this important discussion, we have two insightful debaters. First, joining us is Eleanor, a blockchain enthusiast and a strong advocate for digital autonomy. Eleanor believes crypto is a powerful tool for individual freedom and empowerment. And on the other side, we have Sophie, a digital rights researcher who has critically examined the power structures within the crypto space. Sophie argues that crypto might actually lead to new forms of subordination rather than true liberation. This isn't just a theoretical discussion. For all of you listening, especially students, understanding crypto's true impact is crucial as it shapes our financial future and digital identities. We'll start with opening remarks from our debaters, move into a discussion, then rebuttals, and finally, our conclusions. To kick things off, let's hear from Eleanor for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Maggie. Honestly, I believe cryptocurrency represents a monumental leap towards true digital liberation. It's about taking power away from centralized institutions and putting it back into the hands of individuals. Think about it. With crypto, you control your own assets without needing banks or governments as intermediaries. This isn't just a new financial system, it's a fundamental shift towards personal sovereignty and economic freedom for everyone.
So, Eleanor, you see crypto as a direct path to individual empowerment and freedom from traditional financial gatekeepers. That's a very clear stance. Now, Sophie, let's hear your opening thoughts on whether crypto truly offers liberation or if it's something else entirely.
Thank you, Maggie. While the promise of liberation is certainly appealing, I'm much more skeptical. From my research, I see cryptocurrency as less of a revolution and more of a sophisticated repackaging of control, often under the guise of decentralization. The idea that it's code without masters can be a pretty lie. We often see patterns in the market that suggest a deeper, almost choreographed influence, making it feel less like organic freedom and more like a casino disguised as a movement, where the house still holds the ultimate advantage.
Sophie, you're suggesting that despite the rhetoric, there might be hidden structures of control at play, making it less about true freedom and more about a new form of subordination. It's a stark contrast to Eleanor's view. Let's dive into that idea of decentralization, which you both touched upon. Eleanor, you champion decentralization. Can you explain how crypto achieves this and why it's so crucial for liberation?
Absolutely. Decentralization means that no single entity, like a bank or a government, controls the network. Transactions are verified by a global network of computers, making it incredibly resilient to censorship and manipulation. It's like having a public ledger that everyone can see and verify, but no one person can alter. This transparency and distributed control are what truly empower users, giving them a voice and a stake in the system that simply doesn't exist in traditional finance.
So, the distributed nature of the network is key to preventing any single point of control. Sophie, you mentioned the illusion of decentralization. How does your perspective challenge Eleanor's explanation?
Well, Eleanor's description of the technical ideal is correct, but the reality can be quite different. We often see that while the code might be decentralized, the power to influence and even manipulate the market becomes concentrated in other ways. For instance, large holders, often called whales, can move the market significantly. Or consider the mining pools that control a vast amount of processing power. If 1,000 independent assets move as one, then independence is a myth, and someone, somewhere, is holding the baton.
I understand your concern about concentration, Sophie, but that's a challenge in any market, not unique to crypto. The underlying technology still allows for individual participation and verification, which is a huge step forward. And honestly, the transparency of the blockchain means we can actually see these large movements. Unlike the opaque dealings in traditional finance, it's a more level playing field, even with large players.
That's a really interesting point, Eleanor, about the transparency. So, Sophie, even with the transparency, you still see a potential for manipulation or a choreographed market, as you put it earlier. Can you elaborate on what that choreography looks like?
Certainly. When you observe the market, especially during volatile periods, the precision of spikes and dips can be unnerving. It's too synchronized to be organic, too smooth to be real, as if responding to an internal rhythm rather than external events. It suggests an algorithmic amphitheater, a closed loop where conviction itself is the fuel. The price becomes the bait, and the catch is that every trade is a ritual offering to a house that never truly loses. It's a system designed to extract value, not truly liberate.
I think that's a very pessimistic view, Sophie. While algorithms certainly play a role in modern markets, both traditional and crypto, to suggest it's a closed loop that always benefits a hidden house overlooks the genuine innovation and opportunities for individuals. Many people have found financial independence through crypto precisely because it offers alternatives to the old systems. It's about choice and access, which is a form of liberation in itself.
We're seeing a clear divergence here. Eleanor, you emphasize the individual agency and the new opportunities crypto provides, while Sophie, you're highlighting the potential for systemic control and manipulation, even within a seemingly decentralized framework. It's a complex picture, and we'll explore more after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Sophie, you spoke earlier about conviction being the fuel in the system. Eleanor, how do you respond to the idea that crypto might be tapping into something more psychological, perhaps even a religion built on reflex, rather than pure rational economic choice?
I think that's a strong claim, Maggie. While there's certainly enthusiasm, I see it as belief in a better system, not blind faith. People are drawn to crypto because they've seen the flaws in traditional finance, like inflation eroding savings, which is a form of invisible theft of value that fiat currencies have always practiced.
Eleanor, I agree that traditional finance has its issues with inflation and value erosion. That's the fiat decay Plum understood. But my concern is that crypto, while promising an alternative, might be creating a new, perhaps more insidious form of control. It's not just repackaged control. It's a system that thrives on that very conviction you mentioned.
But Sophie, isn't that true of any market? Investor confidence drives prices. The difference with crypto is that the underlying technology is transparent. We can see the ledger. We can verify transactions. That's a level of accountability you don't get in opaque traditional systems.
Transparency of the ledger is one thing, Eleanor, but understanding the intent behind the movements is another. Plum observed that the market wasn't responding to the world was responding to the chart. This suggests a deeper, almost pre-programmed intelligence at play, making it feel less like a free market and more like a carefully constructed machine for subordination.
Sophie, you're suggesting a kind of pre-programmed intent, almost a puppet master behind the scenes. Eleanor, how do you reconcile that with the idea of individual empowerment?
I think that's a very conspiratorial view, Sophie. While large players and algorithms exist, they operate within a framework that is fundamentally open. The market is complex, yes, but it's also a reflection of collective human action and innovation. To say it's a machine for subordination implies a malicious, centralized entity, which goes against the very ethos of blockchain.
It's not necessarily a single malicious entity, Eleanor. It could be the emergent property of the system itself, designed to extract value. If the price is the bait, then what is the catch? The catch, I argue, is that the system is optimized for its own perpetuation, feeding on the belief of its participants. It's a closed loop where the house, the system itself, never truly loses.
But people do make money, Sophie. People do achieve financial independence. If it were a truly closed loop where the house always wins, then no individual would ever succeed. The volatility, while challenging, also presents opportunities that simply don't exist in traditional, slow-moving markets.
And some people win at a casino, Eleanor, but the casino still profits overall. The question isn't whether individuals can win, but whether the system as a whole is designed for true liberation or for the continuous extraction of value from the many to the few, even if those few are decentralized whales or powerful mining pools.
So, Sophie, you're drawing a parallel to a casino where individual wins are possible, but the house always has the edge. Eleanor, you see it as a genuine opportunity for individuals to break free from traditional systems. Let's talk about the glint in the green, those sudden, confident surges in price. What do those signify to each of you?
To me, those green candles, those surges, represent innovation, adoption, and growing confidence in the technology. They're a sign that more people are seeing the potential, that the network is growing, and that the underlying value proposition is being recognized. It's organic growth driven by real-world utility and belief.
I see them differently, Eleanor. Plum saw choreography where others saw momentum. She saw rehearsal where they saw reaction. The precision of those spikes and dips, the way they move with almost metronomic timing, suggests something less organic. It's like heartbeats, alternating like a roulette wheel, each flash a spin, each trade a prayer. It's designed to elicit a specific emotional response.
But, Sophie, markets are always influenced by psychology. Fear and greed are fundamental to human trading behavior. Crypto isn't unique in that. What is unique is the ability for anyone, anywhere, to participate and to verify the underlying transactions. That's the true liberation.
I agree that human psychology plays a role, Eleanor, but when the system itself seems to be orchestrating those psychological responses, when the chart isn't just reflecting the world but shaping it, then we have to question the nature of that freedom. Is it truly freedom if our conviction is being systematically harvested?
That's a powerful distinction, Sophie. Eleanor, you're emphasizing the transparency and accessibility as core to liberation, while Sophie, you're raising concerns about the systemic design potentially exploiting human conviction. It seems we're grappling with whether the architecture of crypto truly liberates, or if it merely creates a new, perhaps more subtle form of enslavement. We'll continue this fascinating debate after a short break. Welcome back, everyone. Sophie, you're raising concerns about the systemic design potentially exploiting human conviction. It seems we're grappling with whether the architecture of crypto truly liberates or if it merely creates a new, perhaps more subtle form of enslavement. Let's dive deeper into that architecture. Sophie, you've suggested that despite the promise of liberation, the underlying architecture could be a machine built for subordination. Can you elaborate on how the fundamental design might lead to this outcome?
Absolutely, Maggie. Plum, in the source text, viewed global economics as an immaculate, deliberate engine built for subordination. I believe crypto, despite its decentralized facade, can become a similar machine. The architecture, even if code-based, can be designed to concentrate power or extract value, making it a stage dressed as salvation, but with an architecture of enslavement.
I respectfully disagree, Sophie. The very architecture of blockchain, being open source and auditable, is designed to prevent that. It's about transparent rules, not hidden mechanisms. The machine is visible to everyone, and anyone can participate in its governance, which is the opposite of subordination. It's about empowering individuals to build and control their own financial future.
So, Eleanor, you're saying the transparency of the code itself is the safeguard. Sophie, you're suggesting that even with transparency, the design intent can still lead to control. Could you give an example of how this machine operates in practice beyond just the whales we discussed earlier?
Well, consider the initial distribution of many cryptocurrencies. Early adopters or founders often hold a disproportionate amount, giving them immense influence over the project's direction and market sentiment. This isn't about code, it's about economic power concentrated at the outset, which then dictates the market's direction, much like a central bank, but without public accountability.
But that's a feature of early-stage innovation, Sophie. The market matures and distribution broadens over time. Furthermore, many projects are actively moving towards more equitable distribution models and decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, where token holders vote on changes. That's true collective control, evolving beyond initial concentrations.
That's a fair point about evolution, Eleanor. So we have Eleanor highlighting the potential for collective control through DAOs and transparency, while Sophie points to initial power concentrations as a fundamental flaw in the architecture. Let's shift our focus slightly. Sophie, you've also described crypto as a religion built on reflex and a casino disguised as a movement. How does this psychological aspect tie into the architecture of control you're describing?
It's deeply intertwined, Maggie. The architecture creates an environment where emotional responses are not just present, but actively exploited. The rapid price movements, the glint in the green we discussed, are designed to trigger reflex buying or selling. It's a system that feeds on conviction, turning every trade into a ritual offering in a closed loop, where the house, the system itself, never truly loses.
I think that's an overly cynical interpretation, Sophie. While human psychology, like fear and greed, certainly influences all markets, crypto isn't uniquely designed to exploit it. In fact, the transparency of the blockchain allows for more rational decision-making because all data is publicly available. It's about informed choice, not blind reflex.
But Eleanor, Plum observed that the chart wasn't responding to the world was responding to the chart. This suggests a deeper, almost pre-programmed intelligence at play, making it feel less like a free market and more like a carefully constructed machine for subordination, where the market itself dictates behavior rather than reflecting it.
I still see that as a very conspiratorial view. While algorithms certainly play a role in modern markets, both traditional and crypto, to suggest it's a machine for subordination implies a malicious, centralized entity, which goes against the very ethos of blockchain. It's a complex system, yes, but one that offers unprecedented access and opportunity.
So, Eleanor, you're emphasizing the individual agency and the new opportunities crypto provides, seeing the market as complex but ultimately empowering. Sophie, you're highlighting the potential for systemic control and manipulation, even within a seemingly decentralized framework, where the system itself might be the house that always wins. It's a complex picture, and we'll explore more after the break. Welcome back, everyone. Eleanor, you champion this unprecedented access and opportunity. For our listeners, especially students, what does this actually look like in practice? How does crypto empower an individual in a way traditional finance doesn't?
Well, Maggie, in practice, it means things like financial inclusion for the unbanked. Imagine someone in a developing country who can't access traditional banking services, but can use a smartphone to send and receive money globally, instantly, with minimal fees. That's real economic freedom. It also means direct ownership of your assets. You don't need a bank to hold your money. You hold your own keys. This gives individuals complete control and removes the risk of intermediaries freezing accounts or imposing arbitrary limits.
While those examples sound appealing, Eleanor, the reality for many is navigating incredibly complex interfaces, dealing with often exorbitant transaction fees, and the constant threat of scams or hacks. It's not always accessible, and the steep learning curve can create new barriers rather than breaking them down for the average person. Furthermore, the volatility we've discussed means that while some gain, many lose significant savings, especially those who can least afford it. Is that truly liberation or a new form of financial precarity?
So, Eleanor, you see practical benefits like global remittances and direct asset ownership, while Sophie, you highlight the practical challenges of complexity, high fees, security risks, and volatility. This brings us to a crucial point. If crypto is meant to be a new financial system, what role, if any, should regulation play in ensuring it truly liberates rather than subordinates?
I believe regulation should be carefully considered to foster innovation, not stifle it. Overly restrictive rules could push development offshore or make it harder for individuals to access these empowering tools. The beauty of decentralization is its ability to self-regulate through transparent code and community consensus. We need smart regulation that protects against bad actors, yes, but without undermining the core principles of individual sovereignty and open access that make crypto so revolutionary.
I respectfully disagree, Eleanor. The current lack of robust regulation leaves individuals vulnerable. We've seen countless examples of market manipulation, insider trading, and outright fraud that would be illegal in traditional markets. Without clear rules, the house you mentioned earlier, whether it's whales or algorithmic systems, can operate with impunity. Regulation isn't about stifling innovation. It's about creating a safe and equitable environment. Without it, the promise of liberation becomes a dangerous gamble for many, and the architecture of control becomes even more entrenched.
That's a clear divergence. Eleanor, you advocate for minimal, innovation-friendly regulation, trusting in the system's inherent transparency and community. Sophie, you argue for stronger regulation to protect users from exploitation and systemic risks. Let's pivot slightly to the concept of value. Eleanor, you mentioned earlier that crypto protects against the invisible theft of value seen in fiat currencies. Can you elaborate?
Certainly, Maggie. Fiat currencies, controlled by central banks, are subject to inflation, which is essentially a gradual erosion of purchasing power. Your savings lose value over time without you even realizing it. Bitcoin, for example, has a fixed supply, making it deflationary by design. This scarcity protects its value over the long term, offering a hedge against the fiat decay that Plum understood. It's a way for individuals to preserve their wealth outside of government control.
While the idea of a fixed supply is appealing, Eleanor, crypto introduces its own forms of value extraction, which can be far more visible and immediate than fiat inflation. We're talking about exorbitant transaction fees, often called gas fees, that can make small transactions impractical. Then there's the constant dilution from new tokens in many projects, or the rug pulls and scams where developers disappear with investor funds. These are not invisible. They are very real and often devastating forms of value theft within the crypto ecosystem itself.
So, Eleanor, you see crypto as a shield against the slow erosion of fiat value, while Sophie, you argue it introduces new and often more immediate forms of value extraction and risk. It seems the debate over digital liberation truly boils down to whether the benefits of autonomy outweigh the potential for new forms of control and exploitation. We'll have to leave it there for today, but thank you both for this incredibly insightful discussion. All right, as we wrap up this incredibly thought-provoking discussion, Eleanor, let's start with your final thoughts and a key takeaway for our audience.
Thanks, Maggie. For me, crypto is fundamentally about empowering individuals. It offers transparency, direct control over your assets, and a vital shield against the invisible theft of value we see in traditional finance. It's a clear path to true economic freedom and personal sovereignty. My question for everyone listening is, how can we collectively ensure this powerful technology truly serves all people, especially those currently excluded from traditional financial systems?
A powerful call to action, Eleanor. Sophie, your turn for closing remarks.
Thank you, Maggie. While the promise of liberation is certainly alluring, my research suggests that crypto can often repackage control, concentrating power in new ways and exploiting human conviction through its market dynamics. It's crucial to look beyond the hype and critically examine the underlying architecture and its real-world impact. I'd ask our audience to consider, how do we truly distinguish genuine technological liberation from systems that merely create new, perhaps more subtle forms of subordination, even if they appear decentralized?
Both of you have presented incredibly compelling arguments today. Eleanor champions crypto as a tool for individual autonomy, transparency, and a hedge against traditional financial flaws, while Sophie urges caution, highlighting the potential for new forms of concentrated control, market manipulation, and value extraction. For our students, I encourage you to reflect deeply on these contrasting views, question the power structures in any financial system, and continue to learn about how these technologies will shape our future. Thank you, Eleanor and Sophie, for this truly enlightening debate. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us on Digital Liberation, Salvation, or Subordination.